So as we're heading toward the start of our class, you can take any position laying down that's comfortable. I personally am going to have my bolster under my knees just to help that low back already start off in a good, more flat spot, a little bit less of that pressure on the low back. Perhaps it'll be nice to have hands, one on the belly, one on the heart, to allow us for a chance to really deeply connect with the flow of the breath. The belly, and then the lungs. Exhale, chest down, belly down. Obviously, if you choose another leg position, that's absolutely fine for the starting spot. We just want to be comfortable. And just take a few beautiful rounds of breath. Just feel that beautiful flow like an ocean wave. Belly, chest, chest, belly. So much of our days are lived in fight and flight. So much adrenal fatigue going on in our world. Taking, just like we are, this minute or two to simply have these slow, deep breaths already helps to change the pattern. Set us up for a new pattern. Ease of getting into the flow for more and more of our time. That flow of attracting good futures to ourselves just by having positive thoughts. As we're allowing ourselves to breathe, we recognize from the summer solstice to the winter solstice is heading toward darkness. Each day has a little bit more darkness. This is more of the yin half of the year. So much of our society is all about the yang, the activity, the doing. So as we're heading to the second half of the year, perhaps we dedicate this half to more of the yin qualities. Being, healing, self-care, patience. So perhaps let your mind choose one of these yin qualities or another like it. And as we dedicate our practice to that today, we initiate the second half of the year, this half to take care of ourselves. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, nobody else will. With our quality that we handpicked, fresh in our mind, let's take a huge inhale. A nice exhale to kind of solidify it in our being. And from there, if we have that bolster under our knees, let's begin to scoot that bolster off to the left side, placing it by the hip to waist area on that cup. So once it's in place there, begin to take your right knee into the chest and take an easy clasp around that right knee. Just start to introduce that knee a little bit closer toward right shoulder. We're not forcing anything, but just notice how deep are those muscle fibers of the hip flexor willing to go easily right here. Ease is a quality of yin. It's like you choose to stop, sometimes at least, paddling against the flow. And we just enjoy the current. So another good inhale right here. Exhale. And we're going to start introducing this knee across our body toward a twist. For many of us, the knee might be able to aim its way onto the bolster. If it's not quite on the bolster, don't force it. Just let gravity continue to take over. Maybe little by little by little, it'll inch its way a bit closer. So maybe just the calf, that part of the leg is resting down. Maybe the left hand is helping to weigh the leg down, using gravity instead of force. It may be nice for this right arm to just reach easily out to the right. They'll have that expansion through the chest and through the shoulders. Set us up to take a good deep breath, especially into the chest. Take one more deep inhale right here. Exhale. This right hip begins to work its way back down to the ground. Once it's there, let that right leg slide out long. It's almost like another little bonus moment for a mini Shavasana. So just take a couple of breaths through your body. Notice how that right lower half of the body feels so differently now than a few minutes ago. Let's take another huge inhale. For our exhale, let's begin to shift the bolster. Bolster off to the second side. Once it's there, left knee begins to work its way into the chest. Hands can do an easy hug around it. Once again, try to use gravity to keep this knee sinking a little bit closer than that initial spot where it found itself. Take another huge inhale. Exhale, nice and easy. This knee starts to work its way into the twist. Head over across the body. Perhaps choose to set that left arm out straight to the left. Know that you don't have to stay static the whole time. Maybe you're finding your initial point where the breath can float easily. Maybe over time, it shifts. The quality of listening to our bodies a bit more. So often we're numb to our bodies. We eat food and barely taste anything at all. At least for this moment, let's try to be 100% fully present with our body, or at least as close as possible. Let's invite in another good inhale. Exhale. We'll return this hip down to the ground. Let our body have another mini Shavasana, just noticing now how it's yet again another story that's speaking to us. Here, let each foot slide in about as wide as the mat. Let's do a few easy windshield wipers. Knees go to the left. Knees to the right. The ball stays in the way, scoot it away just a little bit. And then take the knees to the left, pausing for a few bonus breaths on that side. Take the knees over to the right. Left. Then when we go to the right, pause for a few bonus breaths. Take one more to each side. Staying with our knees upright when we finish. Let's clasp our hands behind the back of the head. And use that gentle strength of the arms to lift the chin up to the chest, letting the head be super heavy, weighing backwards. Let yourself ease into some of those muscles toward the back of the neck. Some of us may want some movement, starting to rock the head left and right. Some of us may prefer just to stay with stillness, getting those muscles directly on the back. So personal preference, whatever feels best. Wherever we're at, take 2 more good deep breaths. And as we start to release the hands, relax the head, let's take it over to a fetal position. You choose the side. Moving slow like this reminds us we don't have to be so fast-paced all the time. We can enjoy the little things. So one more breath right here. And out. And then let's press our way up to an easy seated place. So our legs are going to go toward cobbler's pose shape. I'm going to give you a couple of different options. Option 1, if sitting upright with the feet together is difficult, the hips pull us back, your first option, just sit on the bolster. That'll help you out a lot. Second option, if you know that you just want to sit upright today, scoot yourself up against the wall and just sit up tall today. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like the hips start to open up like a book, nice and easy. If you know that you want to start leaning forward today, One good option is to take that bolster out in front of us, maybe slightly taller, maybe slightly lower, and just start to ease yourself forward, almost like chocolate melting on a nice hot summer day. No rush at all. Sometimes I'll even take something else like my stacked fists or a block, just to give my head something easy to rest onto, nothing forceful. So do what you can to make it easy. Try to relax through those hip muscles. Trying to make this as much as we can about ease. Breath, this deep, relaxing yin. Starting to let our spine roll up with ease. We're going to help out the hips first, and then help out the low back. So to help out the hips, let's take our bolster off to the side. We're going to cradle out the right leg. We can use hands, we can use forearms, we can use elbows. Just cradle that right leg as deep as it wants to go. Try to keep the posture more or less tall. Then ease into this hip. So a couple of good rocks left and right. Sometimes I go so fast in this rocking action in my normal like hatha yoga classes that I forget how nice it is to just slow down a little bit. Just ease into some of those tight areas. Good. So as that starts to feel a little looser, you have some options. You can drop the legs to cross leg. You could take it to shin stack. Or if you know your hip is super, super open, so not many people will be here, but you do have the option to take your bolster also to add more height to the shin stack. So whichever of these options will work to let both sitting bones be down and sitting with ease. That's the place we're going to take. Even cross leg is beautiful. We'll start to ease our way just a little bit deeper forward. Breathing into that hip. Try to make sure your ankle is comfortable. Sometimes I'll purposely flex my foot just a little bit to help it out. Let everything else just kind of relax forward. If you'd like to use the bolster propped up on you for that ease, you're welcome to. It's whatever would be helpful. Our deep breath for this hip. ease your body up. Right leg will work its way to the ground. So we're gonna cradle out the left, similar fashion. So maybe a hand on the foot, a hand on the knee, maybe hug a bit deeper, it's all up to your hip. Get into some of those deep spots, maybe with a nice slow rocking. Good, so as this feels ready to release, perhaps it's the same option as before, that cross leg or shin stat. I usually try to recommend keeping the body symmetrical, but sometimes there's injuries that make our body super different from one side to the other, so just listen to your body to know. Perhaps begin to ease your way forward. Good, I'm hearing these slow, deep breaths, continuing to flow. When we're stressed, literally our body can't breathe like that. So here we're literally changing the chemistry of our body, changing how our body thinks of our current situation, just by slowing down the breath a little bit more. One more breath for this spot. And start to ease the body back up. When we drop the feet down, they're going to go back into that cobbler pose shake, but this time they're about as far forward as we can take them. So for this one, when we start to ease our spine forward, you'll notice dropping the weight of the head down starts to pull all the muscles of the back into the stretch with us. So especially as the weight of the head is heavy, I feel even the low back muscles starting to join the party with us. Obviously, if that's too intense and you'd like that bolster in for support, that's fine. If you can handle just hanging for a little while, we'll take a few breaths right here in the center, and then we'll start to ease to the left and the right halves of the low back. So to start coming into the sides of our low back, we'll start off with our right hand going to the right knee. Stay nice and deep forward. Our left hand shifts free off the left. And then as we straighten our right elbow, that will start to shift our nose over the left knee. So going toward this motion brings us very deeply into that right half of the low back. Take a couple of breaths to just ease into that area. One of those areas that tends to hold our tension. One more breath for this half. And release your spine low through the center as you begin to switch. Take your dear sweet time. The back muscles don't like to shift immediately when they've been set so deep in the experience. But eventually left hand to left knee, start to straighten that arm. Nose works its way over right. One more breath for this half. Flow back through the center. This retrains our spine to be in that midline. So a deep, slow breath right here. Just walk your hands in to support the back as we rise up. So after so many forward folds back to back, our spine is really ready to just arch open. So what we're going to do is take our bolster up toward the top of the mat. We're going to swing our legs to the back and come onto our bellies. I know the hips are like, what do you want me to do? Yeah, you got it. Just take your time. Okay, so this will be starting off with a nice easy Sphinx pose. The hands are planted, the elbows are planted. Our bolster is here in case in our Sphinx pose we want to drop the forehead down to be resting downward. So you don't have to keep it there. You could keep the head up for times. If you're wanting to help to stretch the abdominal area, what you would do is allow the heart to get drawn a little bit deeper forward and through. Those back muscles in a very new position compared to what we were just doing. You can stay in the Sphinx, or you can try out a slightly elevated alligator. We take our arms onto just the edge of the bolster. Our hands are pretty much stacked like a pillow, and then our forehead drops down onto that. This does obviously create a little bit of that arch through the low back. So if your low back doesn't like it, you can either go back to Sphinx or scoot the bolster away entirely, just resting on the floor instead. That would be an option. This elevated version of the alligator does help us to take that back bend. So it does help to reverse some of the hunched forward positions. It's so easy to take in life. So here you have freedom to keep the forehead up or down, to keep the arms up or down. But let's try out taking the right knee bent through the side, scooting it as close up to that right shoulder as it's comfortable going. So readjust if needed for the head to be comfortable, for the arms to be comfortable. You could just use the bolster like a pillow if you wish. Whatever feels nice. Allow that right hip to have an easy chance to open. Just slide the right leg back. Left knee, take the turn from that. These last few breaths, feel yourself breathing into the belly, giving that little intestinal massage going. Let's inhale. Exhale when we start to release the leg back. Find your hands underneath you, press back into child's pose, perhaps using bolster for the forehead if you wish. So the back, once again, having this huge chance to just have release. Here about 3 more breaths. See how slow and deep you can take it. As we press our hands into the ground, we can walk our hands in. Come to an easy seated spot on our bolster. Cross leg or whatever leg position feels comfortable. Okay. So from here, take the right arm all the way across the chest. The left arm hooks it in. We're setting that right shoulder up in a good stretch. So if the shoulder needs to readjust, going higher or lower, feel free to bring it to that perfect placement. Maybe even dropping left ear to left shoulder to give more space for the right neck. this angle isn't exactly what you need, you could tilt the head slightly backwards or slightly forwards of the shoulder. We're just finding that perfect spot that gets into our personal neck tension. Helping to release some of these areas that are chronically tight. Helps to retrain our body. Helping it realize we don't have to be in yang all the time. Sometimes we can go into this slow, lower activity, yin time. Another good breath for this half. Gently releasing this right arm. Let the right arm take a good arch all the way up and back. Turn it up to go forward. Second side, left gets hugged in. Set up the shoulder at a good angle. Maybe tilt the head to the right. The head or the shoulder aren't in quite the right spot, feel free to adjust. Forward, backward, up, down. Beautiful inhale. Exhale. And as we start to release the left arm takes it circle all the way up to go back. And return. Beautiful. Sliding off the bolster. Place the bolster long ways behind you. We'll plant the feet in front of us. And then we'll tilt both knees to the front door. Once you're there, make sure the bolster is up to that hip. Plant one hand on either side of the bolster. Trying to rotate the sternum to face down. Then bending the elbows, lower the sternum directly onto the bolster. You get to choose which ear stays. Maybe it's the right ear, maybe it's the left ear. For one side, it's very gentle for the neck. The other side is more of a neck twist. So you choose. Arms can slide down to a comfortable placement. Just let your body have this very easy spinal twist. Huge breath cycle flows in and out. Hands find the floor. Press into the hands to support the spine through the lift. We'll begin to work our way to the second side. The knees flip back up through the center and tilt away. Bolsters up to our second hip. One hand on either side of the bolster to lower the sternum directly down. Choose the gear. Once again, make sure the arms are comfortable and then just find your body release. We're going to inhale here. Exhale. Find the floor. Press to rise. Once we're facing back forward, we're going to scoot our way with our bolster toward the edge, like the foot of our mat, the edge of the bolster to the mirror. We're going to scoot ourselves almost all the way down. And then come up to sit up on the bolster. Once we're here, sooner or later, we're going to start working ourselves backwards, trying to keep our hips on the bolster. So sometimes I'll sit already toward the front edge so that my sacrum will be right in the middle as I start to lean back. So start to work your hands behind you. If you need to reset your hips, go ahead. Work one elbow down. If you need to reset, go ahead. Both elbows. Your hips are solidly right there on the bolster. Sliding the elbows out to the sides. Our back gets onto the ground. Our hips are elevated. So we'll do a couple of different things here. The first thing is, take your time. Just keep on readjusting. You're good. Take your time. But when you get there, take one knee up above you, and then the other, both knees floating. Maybe a nice little hug around your shins. It's almost like a child pose, but just flipped around the other way. And let one leg straighten upward, the other. You'll find that there's one spot where the legs kind of just stay. So sometimes the legs, that spot is when the legs are tilted slightly toward you. Sometimes it's when the legs are a little bit tilted backwards. Just find that spot where it's almost like the legs can just float. Hand support on the legs is also fine if you wish. It's almost like legs up the wall. We're giving some of the lymph, the blood, a chance to drain out of the legs right now. Allowing our feet to have almost zero as the blood pressure. What doesn't happen is we walk on our feet all day long. So even our feet that do so much work for us, even we're giving them a chance to be a little bit more yin. So we're leading toward the second half of the year, maybe now toward our winter solstice. You're absolutely welcome to stay with the legs just like this. If you'd like, almost like a plow pose, you could try to take one straight leg a little bit closer toward the face. Maybe hands pull that leg in to help the hamstring. And maybe the second leg. Keep on going back and forth very nicely like that. Or perhaps both legs together start to tilt closer to the face. Hands grabbing on as a support to find that good, comfortable stopping spot. One more breath, whatever we're doing. An easy bend back to the knees. Once the knees are bent in, then one foot at a time we'll find the floor. Both feet there. Take just a moment to let the right leg only straighten out. Feel how this arch across this front half of our body helps to bring the front of the right hip into a nice little stretch. That's the psoas area. Sliding right foot in, plant the left. Out nice and long. Either slide both feet back in just to stay in this easy bridge pose, or slide both legs out to be in kind of like an easy back bend. The whole body bowing upward. Good. So let's take 3 more delicious breaths. Just be present with the experience. Only when that third breath is completed, slide the feet back into plant if they extended. We're just like an inchworm, just taking 1 inch at a time, starting to walk our shoulders backwards until we're all the way off the bolster's under the knees. We find ourselves in this comfortable Shavasana pose. Body relaxing, everything comfortable. So we'll be here for several minutes. Just let your breath start to flow in very nicely. Deep inhales, deep exhales. Enjoying this wonderful chance just to be for a few minutes. Here we'll begin to deepen our inhales. Deepen our exhales. Introduce little movements back to the fingers and toes. Ankles and wrists. Stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. At some point, taking a nice fetal position off to one side. Allow your body to enjoy a few bonus breaths here. Huge inhales. Good exhales. Maybe 2 or 3 more cycles just like that until sooner or later you feel ready to rise. Sooner or later when we arise, we'll join our hands together in front of the heart. And we'll reconnect with that yin-like quality that we chose earlier. These things that are more internal focused or slower activity. Things that are perhaps against our norm, against that constant action that we perhaps feel ourselves almost obligated to do. And with our specific thing like self-care, for greater patience with ourselves, with our yin quality to lead us for this long journey now toward winter solstice, for this awesome second half of the year, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with a sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.